Do you know a single person who doesn't love pizza? I mean, it's great and easy too. Pick up the phone and there it is.
Actually, there's a pizza that I prefer and it happens to be fresh and homemade, and I can put anything that I fancy on the top or anything that's left in my refrigerator.
Actually, that looks good. It's pizza time, next on Epicurious.
Hello, I'm Chef Ishbel Macintosh.
And I'm Jonathan Karsh, and this is Epicurious. Today we're making pizza. Ish, how does it begin?
I'm going to activate the dry yeast in some lukewarm water.
Okay, you're making pizza dough. How long does that take?
This will take a minute or two to dissolve and start reacting.
Oh, great, it's reacting. Well, on today's show, we'll take you inside an antique but fully operational flour mill in Rhode Island.
We'll also visit a legendary Bay Area grocery store, which really puts the super in supermarket.
And don't worry if you missed something, since all the recipes and techniques we use are available on our website at food.epicurious.com. Now, pizza is not very hard to make, and the best thing about homemade pizza is it's very fresh, and you can do it exactly as you please. You want tomatoes? Use them. You like meat? Go for it. And you like your crust a particular way? Make it that way. And how are we making our crust?
Well, I'm just waiting for the yeast to dissolve in the water, and it's almost done, so it's important not to have the water too cold because it won't activate the yeast, and not too hot because that'll kill the yeast because it's actually a living organism. So the water temperature of 105, you can tell just by it being warm.
It's pretty warm.
It's warm. So now I'm going to add the salt to the flour. You never add salt directly to yeast because it kills it. So I'm going to add that to the flour first, make a well.
And you add the wet ingredients to the dry.
Yes, and start mixing it up with my fork.
Okay,
all very simple so far.
The key of any pizza is the crust, and the key to good crust begins with the right flour. I visited Gray's Gristmill in Rhode Island. It's tiny and old-fashioned, but makes some of the best flour in the country. The first mill was built on this site over 300 years ago. It's been a labor of love to keep Gray's Gristmill going. Miller Tim McTay grinds hard wheat flours the old-fashioned way, with just 1 or 2 concessions to time. What changes have you made?
I upgraded from a 46 Dodge to a 49 tractor. You want to stay on the cutting edge of things. You don't want to lag behind.
Yes, the mill is powered by a tractor. Is the tractor 100% reliable every day? You can count on that thing turning?
Not really. No, it's the wintertime. It can be cranky.
The water wheel quit years ago, so they had to improvise. But aside from that, it's done the same way as it's always been done.
The whole grains that we're used to hearing about, whole grains, that's what I buy, and then I pour them in the hopper there, and then literally they just get fed through the stone, and the weight of the stone and the rotary action just reduces it, grinds it into a powdery thing, and that's what flour is.
Tractor's running?
Yeah.
Flour is being made?
All's right with the world.
All's right with the world.
I have a good friend, a guy Jasper White, and he used to buy a lot of my products up at his restaurant. And I asked him one day, I said, Jasper, what's the difference between my stuff and somebody else's stuff? And he looked at me, didn't even drop a beat. He said, Tim,
when you eat that bread, it's like drinking fresh squeezed orange juice for the first time compared to drinking concentrate. Tim is he's a real food hero to me. I mean, he works in a quiet environment. It's not overly glamorous spending all day in a grist mill. But what he produces is freshly milled flours that are ground the old-fashioned way.
So it's the tradition that's the fun part.
It is, yeah, I think it is. It's part like working in a museum, part producing a really good product. My biggest product sale is Johnny Cake Meal. And it's the kind of product that 40 miles away from here, it begins to lose its consumer recognition. 40 miles away from here, people go, Johnny Cake, what the heck is that? You know, what are you talking about, Johnny Cake?
What does it taste like?
It tastes like cornmeal. It's going to sound like, you know, like wine talk or something. I want to say it's delicate yet assertive, but it's like, no, there's some, and people do notice the difference. But for even a pizza dough just a little flavor and texture enhancement. So I might put in a little bit of whole wheat flour into a pizza dough, or a little bit of cornmeal into a pizza dough. Again, for the flavor and texture enhancement, that it would just sort of pick things up a little.
And Tim did say in the event that the tractor stops working, he'll use a nuclear reactor to power the plant if he can find it. You know, the day I was there, Tim was making white cornmeal, and he also mills whole wheat, rye, yellow corn, and a combination of grains depending on the day. Can we use some of his flour for what we're doing?
You know, I really love artisanal flour because it's very natural, and he's taken it step by step. It's got a lot more flavor than commercial flour, but I'm going to use a traditional Italian recipe. But I know people like Alice Walter, she puts a bit of rye into her crust and makes it very nice and chewy, and you can experiment by adding small amounts at a time. But you have to, what you put in, you have to then take away from and experiment a lot.
Okay, but for our purposes, we're using
all-purpose
flour. And it's gotten to the point where you're obviously kneading it.
Yes, I've been kneading this for about 10 minutes, and it's gone from sticky to elastic and shiny. And then I would put it into an oiled bowl.
Ishbel, I've seen you do that before. Can I try
Would you like to have a go?
To knead this?
Okay.
Is this right?
It's very therapeutic.
Is this the right way for me or the dough?
Yeah, you just keep turning it and sort of punching it and bringing it into the middle.
Right, you'd think I'd learn by now. Like this, and like this, and like that.
Using the ball of your hand and pushing in and turning as you push. It requires a little bit of practice.
Obviously.
And a lot of elbow grease. So then I would put it into my oiled bowl, leave it for about an hour and a half until it doubles up in size. And then...
Oh, wow. Hour and a half in just room temperature?
Yeah, you put it somewhere warm, like just sort of put it near the cooker where there's heat coming off from the pilot flames, and that's warm enough to help it rise. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to punch it down, and see, you can hear all the air coming out of it.
And again, it went from that small ball to that in what, an hour and a half?
And
Is that what you said?
Could you lay those plates out flat for me, because I'm going to put it back on the plates. Now I've punched it down, and it's going to sit covered again in a warm place, and it'll double in size. That'll take about an hour.
Oh, I see.
So it's a process that needs to happen a couple of times in rising.
Wow, this is chemistry.
And that's is chemistry, and there's another warm place. And then I'm going to leave that to rise, and while I do that, I'm going to make the sauce.
Okay. And we're using pretty simple ingredients for our sauce.
I'm using canned crushed tomatoes in their puree and some extra virgin olive oil.
I mean, that's it, and that's because this is a classic Neapolitan pizza from Naples in southern Italy.
Yeah, so this is a classic pizza sauce.
So we don't want to mess with it.
No, and
it's
I'm using
classic pizza.
Plum tomatoes. They're really good for sauces, and the canned ones are excellent. You know, even in the summertime, I'll often use a canned tomato for things like concentrated sauces, because I'm going to cook this down and reduce it until all the moistures come out.
And you're getting rid of the water.
Yeah, until it's a rough puree that's spreadable. The enemy to pizza is something that's too wet, that might make it soggy. So it's important that this is, you know, fairly evaporated and thick, so I can spread it onto the pizza without making it wet.
And the olive oil is extra virgin like everything else in life?
Yes, but you don't have
Every other olive oil in life?
You don't have to worry about using your best one because you're cooking. So you can keep your $30 bottle for when you're putting on uncooked on salads and things like that. This is just your standard extra virgin olive oil.
Okay, perfect. Very simple Neapolitan pizza. And when Epicurious returns, we'll continue with our homemade pizza and make even more pizzas. If you'd like the recipe for homemade pizza or thousands of others from Gourmet and Bon Appetit magazines, visit us on the web at food.epicurious.com. Welcome back to Epicurious. We've made our dough and sauce for homemade pizza, and now we'll actually make our pizzas. What you doing, chef?
I'm stretching out the dough. This is after it's risen for the second time under the domed glass bowl. And I'm just pulling it and stretching it. I find the best way to do it in the air. Then you've got the gravity working downwards as you stretch it out the ways.
What about throwing it in the air? And
would you like to try that?
Can I try that?
No, not in this piece. Get your own.
Okay, well, we also have, please, can I try? All right, maybe for my own pizza.
They need so much practice. They do it in the movies, but I don't know about here.
But not here. Well, we have 3 other pizzas, and these are classic Italian pizzas. One is marinara with garlic and oregano. Another is prosciutto and arugula and mozzarella. And the other is a simple olive oil and garlic and
I'm almost done.
oregano.
This has got to be about 9 inches, and I'm getting there. See, it takes a little bit of patience to coax it out, but
Almost there?
I'm there. I'm going to put my tomato sauce on. Ooh, so let me get my peel first. I have to assemble it on the peel.
Look at that.
I'm going to, this is
It's a fly swatter. No, it's not. It's a
I'm going to
the
put a bit of
world's biggest spatula.
cornmeal, and I want to assemble it on the peel because if I did it afterwards, then it would get all floppy and hard to handle.
This is the basic marinara pizza that we're making, right?
Yes. I'm going to turn it from pizza sauce to marinara by adding the garlic in nice big slices. Be generous with the garlic. And the crumbled dried oregano.
Be very generous with the garlic.
You love garlic?
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Add more.
And then just drizzle it lightly with the olive oil. Not too much, you don't want it to get greasy. And then if you'd like to put that in the oven.
Sure.
For me, the oven already heated up to 500 degrees.
It's the highest heat possible, right?
And the stone that you see in there has been in there heating, and that'll give the very crisp base to it. And as you might have felt when you put that in with the peel, there was cornmeal. And that,
what was that for?
That helps give a nice crusty, crunchy texture to the crust.
Okay, and Ishbel, I found another pizza in here.
Wonderful. What a surprise.
And what's this one that I'm putting on our cooling rack?
So it doesn't get soggy. So this will let the air out. And we're going to assemble this with the prosciutto and arugula. You see, you wouldn't want to put the arugula in the oven because it would just get all wilted, and you want it to be fresh and peppery. And the same with the prosciutto, you don't want that to cook. So that's how it finishes off. Ooh, doesn't that look delicious?
Looks so delicious. Now, we could also just go off the recipes from the website and make our own pizza, couldn't we?
We could. Give me my peel back and let's assemble our own homemade one.
Say please.
Please.
All right, here
Sorry.
you go. Wait, do I have it turned the right way?
You know, you've got a point. Thank you, Jonathan. No,
Keeping you honest.
I think you're right. It is that way. That little wooden part would have gotten in the way. So the cornmeal and the pizza, it's just sticking to the plate. Could you help me get that off?
See, I know a little bit about pizza because when I was a kid, I would make, every day after school, I would put canned tomato sauce on English muffins with mozzarella cheese.
Yeah. So you really had the pizza instinct.
It's right. I mean, it's nothing compared to these authentic pizzas.
No, no.
But works in a pinch when you're a kid.
It does. So what would you like on your pizza? We'll assemble it.
Oh gosh, this is
the
a
choice
food
of
fantasy.
ingredients.
I think I would like asparagus tips, and I would like artichoke hearts, and I would like peppers and fresh tomatoes, I think.
Okay.
Now, we're not really using cheese, and that's not necessary on pizza, is it?
There's some goat's cheese here, which is really fabulous on pizza. You want some red peppers? Did you say?
Sure, red peppers. But a cheeseless pizza doesn't mean a diet pizza, like a lot of people might think.
No, not at all. But I think cheese adds an extra textural layer to it, and flavor. It adds creaminess and, you know, that wonderful stretchy texture.
Ishbel, that looks perfect. So we'll put that in the oven too at the hottest temperature of 500 degrees. And when Epicurious returns, we'll take a tour of Draeger's, the best one-stop gourmet superstore in America, and we'll make a scrumptious minestrone soup to go with our pizza. Stay with us. For more information and complete recipes for all the dishes we're making, head to our website at food.epicurious.com. Welcome back to Epicurious. We've made homemade pizza, and now we're going to make minestrone, a classic Italian soup, and it literally means big soup minestrone. And on the street, people called me Johnny Minestrone.
How appropriate.
Mr. Big Soup, whatever that means. All right, how do you do it? What do you do?
I'm going to start it off with pancetta. Pancetta is a cured bacon. This is what it looks like in its whole form. I got my butcher to cut it into thick slices and I diced it. And this will give the flavor to the soup.
And you want to get it to a golden brown?
Yes. This is what's used to flavor pastas and sauces and soups, and I even cook it till it's really crispy and add it to salad dressing, and a little goes a long way. And on the plate I have a trio of aromatic vegetables which will start off the soup. In France it's called mirepoix.
Mirepoix?
Yeah, in Italy it's called odori. So I'm going to add those along with some garlic to the pancetta.
Chef. Odori.
When it comes to food, I am. Okay, so minestrone, like so many Italian dishes, really relies on good ingredients to make it.
And where better to find the best olive oil, pancetta, Parmesan, and vegetables than Draeger's, the San Francisco area marketplace that's a holy destination for cooks and eaters everywhere. Draeger's is more than a gourmet marketplace. It is everything that a food lover would want. Everything. And it's all under one roof. The Draeger family owns 3 gourmet marketplaces in the San Francisco area. I visited the store in San Mateo, just south of San Francisco, to shop for ingredients for our pizza menu. My guide on this excursion was Gary Danko, the award-winning chef of Viognier, a 160-seat restaurant at Draeger's. Gary, you are a very lucky man to have this supermarket attached to your restaurant.
I am very lucky, actually. You know, Draeger's in conception encompasses everything about the table. If it's wine, we're standing in the wine department. We have over 2,500 varieties of wine. If you want fresh fish, we have fresh trout, we have crab, we have Maine lobster. We have a cheese ripening room, pots, pans, cooking equipment. It basically doesn't end, it's continuous.
All under one gigantic roof.
Exactly.
I'd shake his hand, but he'll kill me. Be careful. Be careful, Gary.
There he comes.
How did you conceive of this store?
Oh, it's just something we thought about for a long time. We've traveled all over the world and looked at the best things we thought we could see and put it all into one great big market and tried to make it beautiful.
Gary, we're making a pizza with garlic and olive oil, and I think I need your help finding olive oil. Look at this place.
We've got olive oil. We have about 120 different extra virgin olive oils here. So the way you want to choose an oil is, are you going to cook with it or not? As far as your pizza, if you're going to brush it on before, you can use a lesser olive oil. As a rule, if you're going to eat it raw, you want to spend the best money and use extra virgin for it. Mozzarella is what we're looking for the pizza. Mozzarella is basically either made with whole milk or skim milk. Any melting cheeses are high moisture. That's what makes them very stringy. So mozzarella has a lot of pull to it, it has a lot of moisture. It's a very simple rule. We actually have one of the 12 masters of wine in the country here, Peter Marks, and he has a private tasting room here.
It's unusual to have a wine tasting room inside a supermarket, a gourmet grocery store, isn't it?
I think it is. I don't know of another one in the whole country like this. I can't think of any other place I'd rather be. 94 was an outstanding year for California Cabernets.
What other wines do you specialize in here at Draeger's?
Well, obviously we have a large quantity of high-end California wines, but we also specialize in French Bordeaux and French Burgundy, as well as wines from all over the world, but those are the ones that we really feature.
Delicious. Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
And thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
60,000 square feet of gourmet food under one roof, Ishbel. You would go nuts in there.
It's like a chef's dream.
It really is. So what are we doing to our minestrone now? You've had your vegetables sweating, schwitzing, and now what?
Now I'm going to add some zucchini, some chopped green beans, some diced potato, and I'm going to just cook them for a few minutes. And then I'm going to add, once those have softened a bit, I'm going to add kale and cabbage.
Now, minestrone is a perfect companion food to our pizza menu, isn't it? Because why?
It's got so many vegetables in it, and it's filling, but it's not too filling, so the pizza and the soup go together very well.
And there really are a lot of vegetables in this.
Yeah, and depending on the season would be how you chose your vegetables. I chose a kale right now because it's got lots of vitamins in it, it's plentiful. You can choose them by small curly bunches, that's how you identify it. It's a member of the cabbage family, but you use it a lot like spinach. So I thought kale would be...
You can taste the vitamins.
Yeah, doesn't it feel healthy?
There you go.
The cabbage. Then I'm just going to let that wilt. It just takes a few minutes to wilt, and this is what it looks like once it's wilted down a bit. Then I'm going to add the chicken broth and the chopped up tomato.
Wow, this looks like the most healthy thing you could possibly eat, which I guess is a part of Italian cooking.
Yes.
Is really healthy
Hearty.
eating and fresh,
and
hearty ingredients.
You can make this, you can leave it in the fridge for 3 days, and it'll just improve and get better as all the flavors meld together.
There are variations on minestrone, aren't there? In
Yeah.
Genoa, they put pesto in minestrone.
Yeah, they finish it off with pesto. I'm going to, I've already cooked these white beans, and I'm going to use half of them and puree them with a little of the bean broth left over, and this is going to thicken the soup.
Okay.
This is just my particular version.
Pre-cooked navy beans?
Yeah.
Okay. In Tuscany, where I have visited, people take the minestrone and they put it over bread.
Oh, I
that's it.
love that because it gets
so
really
delicious.
thick.
And I guess it does look like this in most parts of Italy. Ow, this is hot.
Yes, put the lid over to... In fact, that should be covered. So put the lid on that and we've got to cover it for an hour while it cooks slowly.
Great.
So I'm going to add the bean puree to thicken it. And then just at the end, a few minutes before I serve it, I'm going to add the white beans. And that adds another layer of texture and flavor. You can I've had an Italian soup which had 30 separate vegetables in it. And
30 vegetables?
it was called 30 vegetable soup. It was so good.
The Farmers Market report on the website can tell you where to buy the best vegetables in your area.
Right?
Just in case you didn't know.
That's really handy. Oh,
How
it needs
is
a little more salt.
Okay, let me
But
try.
it's delicious.
Give me
Taste
more of that.
Pancetta coming
I'm
through.
double dipping. Oh, you can really taste the pancetta and the broth and 30 vegetables. I only taste about 26. When Epicurious returns, we'll show you how our whole meal comes together. Stay with us. Hi, we're back, and our pizza meal is ready to eat. Ish,
You're
look
proud
at that.
of that pizza, aren't you?
I am as proud as pie, and you know, in Italian, pizza means pie.
Is that right?
Look what I made
well,
there.
I cut the pie up into little triangles.
That's the best way to serve it, I guess.
Well, you know, for an hors d'oeuvre or an appetizer, small portions are best. You don't want to eat, a huge pizza and make yourself full, but this is very popular hors d'oeuvre. People never get tired of pizza.
And the pizza can be an appetizer or the entree, and so can the minestrone soup.
And it can also sit at room temperature. If it's really got a nice crisp crust, you don't have to eat it hot. And the minestrone soup, which I made a little garlic and oil bruschetta here, this is so hearty. You can actually just have a complete meal, just minestrone with some of this aged sausage in it.
Wow.
And some
sausage.
parmesan on the top. And this is a very hearty, filling meal. Would you like some parmesan?
Sure. Oh, the sausage really adds a lot. Ish?
And then I made, for dessert,
What'd you make
some
for dessert?
Italian hazelnut espresso shortbreads. They're very crispy, nutty, just with that nice strong chocolate just to finish it off. And I thought a nice light Tuscan table wine would go very well with the tomato and the pizza.
I'm just going nuts over the soup. That is really delicious. I don't think
good?
I even need the rest of this, but I'll eat it anyway. Remember, all the recipes you see here today and thousands more from Gourmet and Bon Appetit magazine are available on the Epicurious website. I'm Jonathan Karsh.
And I'm Ishbel Macintosh. Please join us next time.
And enjoy your pizza.